So, hello everybody. We are to start the rest part of salient feature for OCS examinations. We have done our best to carry on this mission. In the last class, we had discussed that Indian Constitution is partly rigid and partly flexible. All of you must have understood this concept, why Indian Constitution is described as partly rigid and partly flexible. We have also mentioned that the procedure of amendments in three ways, that is by simple majority and by special majority. Special majority by ratification by half of the state. There are some provisions. We shall take another note also when we come to the chapter, the amendment to the constitution. We have a special chapter. At that time we shall discuss more about the procedure of amendment and the provisions that come under different types of amendment. For the time being, remember that Indian Constitution is a blending of rigidity and flexibility. It is not only amended by special majority but also by special simple majority, and the Constitution is made flexible because of its changing nature and the pluralistic society of the country, pluralistic nature of the country. So that is there. Hence, the Constitution is made flexible, and certain provisions that are the basic features or the fundamental parts of the Constitution can only be amended if a majority or a higher majority of people's representatives agree to that. That's why this provision is made. Okay. We also have discussed Republican state, and you understand what we mean by Republican state. There are certain meanings. First of all, that head of the state is elected, and also the people are involved in the formation of the government, and people have the role to play. So, in a country where popular government is found, is also called republic. That is also another characteristic. But the major characteristic of the of the concept is that the head of the state is elected. Okay, I hope we have completed this part. Okay, then we shall start today the then we shall go to the federal state with unitary bias. Okay, so federal state with unitary bias means Indian Constitution. India is not an example of a classical federation. Like that of America. Of the USA. We are a federation, but we are not a classical federation, as it is found prevalent in the USA. So we have not adopted. Then what is the proof? Article 1 reads that India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. Here, union of states is mentioned, not federation of state, although we are a federation. That's why India is not called a complete federation. Another reasons are there. Indian constitution not only contains federal features, but also a lot of unitary features. Federal features like dual citizenship, dual constitution, residuary power vested in the states are not found in the Indian constitution. First, we have to note that. Typical features, typical features of a classical federation, like America, or like the USA, like that of the USA, like not necessary to write that, not like that classical federation of any country, like dual constitution. In America, you will find dual constitutional arrangements, dual citizenship. There is one citizenship in the state or another state's citizenship in the federation by in the country. Residuary power vested in the states, weak center, etc. are not features of Indian Federation by Indian federal government. Federation, you can write better, federation. So there are different types. You can mark it. You can that dual citizenship and dual constitution, residuary powers vested in the states, weak center, and also independent structure of judiciary are not common, are not prevalent in Indian Federation. So we lack certain basic features of a federation, hence we are not called a that we may not call a typical federation or a real federation. Western philosopher K.C. Ware mentioned India as a quasi-federal or a federal. Indian constitution is federal in spirit, a federal in structure, but unitary in spirit. Federal in form, but unitary in structure. Okay, let me erase it, clear the screen. So kindly take the notes also, because they will help you write your mains answer in this type of questions. So that is okay. That is the things. And K.C. Ware, Western philosopher, describes India as Indian constitution, that is as federal in form and unitary in spirit. Unitary in spirit. It means it looks like federation, but it acts as a unitary government. Unitary means with more power conferred upon the center. Unitary means where central government is absolutely powerful or more powerful. But we are not a completely unitary country, or we are not a completely federal country. Hence, the philosopher made this statement that federal in form, unitary spirit, or quasi-federal. Why? Because Indian Constitution contains so many provisions of of a federation and so many features of a unitary country. Let us examine what are the federal features our country has and what are the federal characters. So, Indian Constitution contains contains federal features like two governments, dual governments. We have dual government, state government and central governments. So dual governments, it is also a feature of federal government. Division of power. In 7th schedule, you will find division of power between the central states. Division of powers. Written constitution. We have a written constitution. In fact, we have the longest written constitution in the world. Written constitution. Supremacy of the constitution. Constitution is supreme, and nobody is above it. Neither the legislature, nor the executive, nor the judiciary is above the constitution. Everybody has their powers defined in the constitution, and every organ has to act according to the prescribed limit. Then we have rigidity of constitution. That is also an aspect of federal government. We have discussed how the constitution is rigid. So we have rigidity of constitution and independent functioning of judiciary. Independent judiciary is made independent of the control, made from the control of executive and legislature. And also you can add bicameralism. It is also a feature of a unitary government. Doesn't mean only federal government will have bicameral, but unitary government will not have bicameral. That is not meaning, but it is considered a part of the federation. So dual government, division of powers, written constitution, supremacy of the constitution, rigidity of the constitution, independent judiciary, and also bicameralism are part of the certain part of the Indian constitution, which are basically federal in nature. Whereas, whereas, whereas the Constitution of India also contains important federal features. Federal features such as strong center. We have a strong central government. Central government is in a very superior position to the states. So we'll discuss how it is strong. A strong center. Strong center means central government is much more powerful than the states in various respects. Single citizenship, single citizenship. So in a federation, we have noticed that there must be dual citizenship, but we have single citizenship, flexibility of the constitution, flexibility of the constitution, all India services. All India services are unitary provisions because they are appointed by the center, but they are in charge in they are posted in the important position in the state administration. Appointment of governor, appointment of governor of the state, emergency, and integrated judiciary. One system of law, integrated judiciary. So there are a lot of, you can notice there are a lot of anti-federal features, or sorry, that is, we have written unitary features. So there are unitary features like the strong center, single citizenship, flexibility of the constitution, all India services, appointment of governors, emergency, integrated judiciary, you can say also residuary power, residuary powers vested in the center in the parliament. That is also another. Uh, that is also another unitary features. So there are important unitary features like strong center. Center government is in a very superior positions than the states because you will find lot of subjects. Point number one is lot of subjects, important subjects are mentioned in the union list. Number two, the central government has the power to make laws on the residuary powers which are not mentioned in the three list. Number three, in case there is a concurrent law made by the center and state, and if there is a contradiction between them, then the central law prevails over the state law. Although there has been judicial interference in this matter, but still, the central law prevails over the state to some extent, to a great extent. And another number four, the center can legislate. The Union Parliament can legislate on state bill in different circumstances, like during national emergency, during financial emergency, and to when Rajya Sabha passes a resolution, when two or more states request it to the center. So in different circumstances, Parliament can legislate on the state list. But the state cannot make any legislation on the subjects of the union list at any time. There is no scope at all. Okay, that's why we call that we have a strong center in comparison to the states. Then single citizenship is a unitary feature because in a federation there are dual citizenship that provide dual citizenship to others. Dual citizenship means a state citizenship and a central citizenship, but we have only one citizenship, that is Indian citizenship. We do not have citizenship of Odisha, or we do not have citizenship of other states. But Jammu Kashmir had a provisions of that, but it is now abolished. So no state in India has dual citizenship. Then flexibility of the constitution is a unitary provisions, and most of the provisions of Indian constitution can be amended by simple majority, and hence it is called flexibility. Then all India services that are established by Rajya Sabha through a resolution under Article 312 are superior public services. They are posted in the strategic post in the state, and they play a vital role in deciding the governance of the state, administration of the state. Yet they are not appointed by the state government. They are appointed by the central, regulated and controlled by the center. And hence it is called a unitary features. Appointment of governors being the constitutional head of the state, is to be elected or either indirectly or directly by the people of the state, but this is not the provision in India. The governors are appointed by the president, that means by the center. So we have brought these provisions from Canada, but that is an non-federal characteristic. Then emergency, as it shows that it is imposed by the center in certain circumstances, and there are three kinds of emergency: national, state emergency and financial emergency. All these are regulated by the center. Then we have one system of law, fundamental law, and one system of integrated court, and there is no separate court system, or there is no parallel Supreme Courts established. Then residuary power vested in the center. But in a typical federation, residuary powers are not vested in the center. Is that clear? This is the reason why we describe our Indian Constitution is termed as federal in form but unitary in spirit. Federal in form but unitary in spirit, or quasi-federal, That is said by the noted philosopher S.C. Hoyer. And this is why India is called a quasi-federal. I hope you understand why India is called a quasi-federal. So as the constitution contains more unitary features, more and substantial unitary features. It is rightly described as a federal state with unitary bias, or a quasi-federal. So this is the reason why we are described as quasi-federal. Okay. And in this regard, Indian Federation is also described by Granville Austin. Granville Austin describes Indian Federation. Granville Austin describes Indian Federation as rich cooperative federalism. We shall discuss why in briefly. And Maurice Jones described as the Indian Constitution describes Indian Constitution as bargaining federalism and Ivor Jennings describes Indian Federation as federalism with centralizing tendency. Federalism with centralizing tendency. Okay. So why Granville called as a cooperative federal? Because federalism thrives when there is a strong cooperation between the central and state in the national interest and integrity. It is required that the state and center should have a cordial relation or cooperation in between and among each other so that the national unity and integrity will be safe. Hence, there is a need for cooperative federalism. Maurice Jones described bargaining federalism because due to the emergence of regional parties in the recent times, or even since 1970s, there is no single party domination at the center. Most of the regional parties they are partners. They have become partners in the central government, so they bargain with the major party for any governance position, and hence it is called bargaining federalism. It is because of the rise of umpteen regional parties in India since 1970s. And Ivor Jennings was described federalism as centralizing tendency that we have discussed. So these are the pictures of the different opinions on our system of federation in India. Okay, kindly remember these points. We shall now proceed to the next point. Okay, so any point you are getting, kindly write the same answer we have written. Okay, now we shall go to the next point. Single citizenship. Single citizenship means a person born to Indian city, born to Indian parents, but a person born in India or a person born in or outside India to Indian parents or a person who has acquired Indian citizenship through various methods is a citizen of India, not the state to which he or she belongs. We have not provided single, and this provision is borrowed from UK. Last ASO exam we had done this question was there. The single citizenship is borrowed from which country? So we have borrowed single citizenship from UK. And that is the things. Person born in or outside India, whatever may be. So why single citizenship is provided? Single citizenship is provided in the larger interest of the country. We should not have regional bias or regional feelings. So in order to deactivate regional or anti-national forces and biased regionalism, the provision of single citizenship has been provided in place of dual citizenship. India is a multilingual, multicultural, multi-religious country with diversity in natural resources, with diversity in flora and fauna. So there is always regional disparity, not only in development but also in infrastructure building. So regional feelings are there, regionalism is a part of our issues, but the provision of single citizenship infuses a sense of Indianness among all, and we are a member of a single family. That is the thing. So it promotes national feeling, it promotes nationalism, promotes national feeling and cohesiveness, togetherness, and we are identified as Indians first. So it doesn't allow regional identity to come to the fore or come to hamper or to threaten national unity and integrity. And the provision of single citizenship is borrowed from American, it's a UK constitution by UK. Okay, so that is another characteristic of the constitution, and it is a unitary provisions. Got it? It is a unitary provisions. Then special provision for certain classes. Okay, that is the provision. Then special provision for certain states. Special provisions for certain states. So, what does it mean? Certain classes. Certain classes means like backward classes. So, backward classes like SC, ST, and also OBC. Part 16. Part 16 deals with special provisions for certain classes, that is, you can say articles 330 to 342, and you will find reservation provisions for SC and ST in Parliament, in Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha in this part. There have been also commissions set up for each category of backward classes like SC, ST. And okay, and there are three provisions under Article 338, 338A, and 338B. So therefore, National Commission for SC, National Commission for ST, and National Commission for OBC since 2018. Okay, and that dealt with by these amendments respectively at these articles. So backward classes are India constitutes more than nearly 50% of people are backwards, are considered economically, socially backward classes. Hence, there is a need for their empowerment, their progress and prosperity is the responsibility of the country, of the constitution. So it is a unique provision of Indian constitution that it provides special provision for certain classes for their socio-economic empowerment, for their political empowerment. There are a lot of provisions have been provided, and hence it is a unique characteristic of Indian Constitution. You can call it a salient feature of Indian Constitution. Because considering India's percentage of backward classes, there is a need for special provisions for faster socio-economic development of these communities. Okay, so that is part 16 special provisions. Then integrated and independent judiciary. That is, we have to discuss integrated and independent judiciary. So first of all, we have to discuss the independent judiciary. Why judiciary is called? Let's first discuss integrated. Integrated judiciary. Integrated judiciary means there is one system of fundamental law across the country. Like one constitution, one IPC, one CRPC, one CPC, Civil Procedure Code, Criminal Procedure Code, IPC 1860, 1973 and 1908. These are same across the country. There is no different state laws. There is no different state laws, or there is no different state justice delivery system. It is regulated by the Supreme Court, by the apex court. So judiciary is centralized. Although there is a division in the legislative and executive powers between the central and state, there is no division of judicial powers between the central and state. Judiciary remains to be centralized, although high courts are given much more autonomy in their functioning as the highest institution of judiciary in the state level. They are not above Supreme Court. So there is a hierarchy of courts. Another meaning of judiciary is hierarchy of courts. There is a hierarchy of court system. Like Supreme Court at the top, at the middle there is your high courts, and at the at the bottom level there are district courts. So this system is called the integrated system. But in America you will find the provision of independent structure of judiciary. Independent structure. Then independent judiciary. This is the meaning of integrated judiciary. Okay, now I shall come to the party structure. Independence. Independent judiciary. Judiciary is independent of the control of executive and legislature. They need to be independent in their function. Otherwise, judiciary will not be able to deliver impartial and unbiased justice. And as a protector of the Constitution, it cannot protect or it cannot prevent misuse of Constitution by the executive and legislature. Hence, judiciary has been made independent by the Constitution itself. So how the judiciary has been made independent? How it is made? Why judiciary is made independent and how? Why means for the safety and preservation of the values of the Constitution. Because judiciary is the sole protector, custodian of the Constitution. And how it is made. There are certain grounds which makes judiciary independent. One is your mode of appointment. Mode of appointment of judges. So although judges are appointed by the president, but only in consultation with the chief. So we'll have a special discussion on that in judiciary class. But remember that judges are not appointed. Judges means judges of Supreme Court and High Court are not appointed at the discretion of the executive or the central government. They can be appointed by the president only after they are recommended by the Chief Justice of India and other 4 judges. That's why judges are free from the arbitrary control of the government. Number 2, security of tenure. Security of tenure. Although there is no fixed term for the judges, they retire. Supreme Court judges retire at the age of 65, whereas the High Court judges at 62. There is no fixed term or duration of their term. But they cannot be removed at the discretion of the central government. They can be removed through a difficult provision of passing of the removal resolution in the parliament in special majority, and that the resolution must be investigated and is investigated thoroughly by an investigating agency or committee set up by parliament during that process. Okay, that is called security of tenure. That means they cannot be removed without any ground. Judges can be removed only when they are charged with proven misbehavior and incapacity. So they enjoy complete security of tenure. They are not at the beck and call of the central government. Or the central government cannot remove them without going through a long procedure of impeachment. Okay. Next, number 3, salaries and allowances, salaries and allowances of the judges are a charged expenditure on the Consolidated Fund of India or of the states. Because the High Court judges draw their salary from the states. So their salaries are charged expenses. Charged expenses means they cannot be reduced or they cannot be voted by parliament, they cannot be voted by the state legislature, reduced by them at any circumstances except during financial emergency. There may be reduction in the salary of the judges, but that is up to resorted as a last option. Hence, they are not worried about that. Number 4, ban on practice after retirement. The judges of Supreme Court cannot practice anywhere. The judges and Chief Justice of Supreme Court cannot practice anywhere. And with regards to the judges of high courts, they can practice in other high courts and in the Supreme Court, but they cannot do so in their own court, in the court where they last attended. Next, number 6, 5. Ban on discussion on the conduct of judges without any cause, without any valid ground. The conduct of judges cannot be completely discussed in the parliament or in the state legislature. That is also a point to be remembered. Number 6, they have the power to punish for its own content by the fixed service conditions. So these are the reasons why Supreme Court or why Judiciary has been made independent. Government has least role to play in in influencing or has least option to influence the judiciary. This is how the constitution is amended. It's as a providing independence to judiciary so that it will be in the larger interest of democracy and it will be safe. So like the judiciary or Supreme Court, High Court, there are certain independent bodies in India. They are independent of the control of executive and legislature. They are not subject to the arbitrary or whims and fancies of the executive. There are Comptroller and Auditor General. Election Commission of India. Union Public Service Commission. Apart from these bodies, there are other independent bodies like National Human Rights Commission, Central Information Commission. Lot of human independent bodies have gradually been made to add strength to the governance system and to act impartially and unbiasedly. They are made independent. Like Lokpal of India also. Lokpal of India can be called an independent body. So these are independent bodies like Judiciary. Judiciary is also another independent body, Supreme Court. And apart from that, there are a lot of judicial bodies as we have discussed. So they contribute largely to the success of. Okay. Then fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are lifeline of a democracy. Democracy is impossible without fundamental rights. You'll see that what differentiates democracy from the rest forms of government, like monarchy or autocracy or oligarchy, whatever you may take example of, what stands out as the unique features of democracy, that is fundamental rights. So fundamental rights are lifeline of the democratic constitution. In the absence of these rights, democracy will not be granted to the people. So fundamental rights fundamental rights are lifeline. They are made justiciable. They are enforceable. That is the special characteristic of fundamental rights. They are enforceable by the court if they are violated, if they are infringed. transgressed. That is called justiciability of the rights. And they promote political democracy okay. So they promote political democracy and political equality. There are 6 types of fundamental rights at present. And in the original constitution, there were 7 fundamental rights. But the right to property was abolished, which was found in 31 and also in 19F. It got abolished by 44th Amendment Act 1985 memorandum. Okay? And fundamental rights is found in Part 3, Article 12 to 35. We shall discuss broadly in detail this chapter. Then fundamental duties and obligations to those obligations to the citizens who enjoy that is facilities and security to just a minute. Fundamental obligations towards the country by a citizen they are reminders. They are reminders and they are found in Part XIVA, Article 51A, added by It was added by Sardar Soran Singh Okay. Next we shall come to DPSP. DPSP are social and economic rights. Rights of the people. They promote economic democracy, socio-economic democracy. Socio-economic democracy or equality. And equality and found in part okay, but DPSPs are not enforceable. They are not enforceable because of the lack of resources on the part of the government. But remember, in Kesavananda Bharati case 1973, Supreme Court held that both DPSP and fundamental rights are quite important. None is less important than the other. Then why this provision is kept in a separate part? Because this part requires a lot of provisions for enforcement like finance and others. The government may not be in a position to do that immediately. Okay, now we shall go to next point, the PSP. Understood that justiciable and it is borrowed from the Irish constitution. The PSP is borrowed from Irish constitution and it is mentioned in part B, IB. Isn't it? Part IB, Article 36 through 51. Secular states. Okay, so this is all about your DPSP. Remember the articles also. Then independent bodies we have already discussed. Three-tier government we shall discuss. Three-tier government. Three-tier government refers to central government, state government, and local self-government. After sorry, 73rd Amendment. This is called three-tier government. And there has been visible devolution of powers from the state and states from the LS. Although the devolution of power, devolution of substantial powers to local bodies like panchayat and municipality has not been experienced, has not been realized yet. It has set in the process and it is continuing. So that is three-tier in government. Panchayat Raj. At the grassroots level, municipalities like rural local self-government. Okay. So it is called three-tier and there is a devolution of powers. So under the supervision of the central government, this is made. We have today three-tier structure across the country. Universal adult suffrage. That was no vote. Universal adult suffrage, that is no vote can be. That is Article 326. All persons attaining 18 years or above shall be eligible to vote and contest election. In contest election, there is different age structure, but you must be citizen of India. Must have right to vote. So, right to vote under Article 326, the right to be elected, is a constitutional right. It's not a constitution; it is a constitutional right because it is not mentioned in the Part 3. Universal adult suffrage, there is no partiality, woman has been a partner, woman has been enjoying right to vote since time immemorial. Okay, now special provision for certain classes. So, special provision for certain states. In part 16, you find special provision for certain classes, but in uh, what in part 21, you find special provisions from for certain states. That is the things. Okay. So it is mentioned in article that is the part 21, and it is 369 to 392 special provisions. And in article 370 there was a special provision for Jammu and Kashmir's special provisions for J&K, but now it is abolished. In 2019, then Article 371, Maharashtra and Gujarat. And Article 371A, A, and it's your Nagaland. It was added by 13th Constitutional Amendment Act. It protects Naga customary law and procedure, administration and criminal justice. Okay, for the preservation of their own culture. The governor of the state has special responsibility with regards to this. 3071B, Assam, 371B, especially for the that is special provision. They provide for the constitutional function of a committee of legislative assembly of the state for the tribal areas of the Assam. 371C, Manipur. 371 D and E for Andhra Pradesh. That is, D is related to uh, providing special or equitable opportunities or facilities for the people of the state in public employment, and is related to Central University in Central University in Andhra Pradesh. Then F added in 75 to Sikkim, and G Mizoram, H Arunachal Pradesh, I Goa, J Karnataka. So you can now notice that some states are given special provisions for the protection and preservation of their regions, backward regions, so to say, tribal regions. In 371I, J, six backward districts of Karnataka are given special status. That means establishment of a separate development board, and also reservation for locals in education and government jobs. That's why we get then there's some tax extra assistance or financial assistance by the center. Several provisions may be added because of considering the backwardness of the region. Through C71A, Vidarbha and Maratha, 371 deals with Maharashtra, that is Marathawada and Vidarbha, and in Gujarat, Kutch and Saurashtra. These are quite backward regions, so they are provided special attention, like establishment of selection board or providing reservation to the locals in government jobs and in education. That's the region that is called special province. So it is considering the regional imbalance in national development and presence of critically backward areas, backward regions. They live in abject poverty. They used to live in abject poverty and they suffer from socio cultural and natural constraints. Hence, to bring about changes in their life or to bring development to the regions, a special part is invested for these provisions, and it is part XI and under Article 369 to 392. All right. Okay. These are the special provisions. Okay, your comments are very good. Sneha Behera, it's not understood what you have written, but yes, excellent comment. KL Ashok, blocks. You have written boring, but any cause, any cause of your boringness? May I know? Okay, okay. Okay, now we'll have different. Okay, now we shall come to the major part. Indian Constitution is a bag of borrowings, but drawn from different sources. We are going slowly because those who watch, the novice, newcomers can better understand it. Hence, we are going very slow. So, drawn from different sources, Indian Constitution is called a bag of borrowings. Means we have borrowed so many provisions from different constitution. Obviously, because we did not have a previous experience of having a constitution, and when we prepared a constitution, we followed many successful constitution of the world and brought it to Indian constitution. But we cannot blame or we cannot label our constitution as a copy paste constitution. It is, so to say, an original constitution, you can say, because all the provisions that are borrowed from other constitutions are not blindly followed. They are modified and some changes are brought in them, then they are provided in the constitution. Hence, we cannot describe Indian constitution as a copy-paste constitution, rather than being a original constitution. So let's examine which are the provisions that we are borrowed from different constitutions. First of all, we have borrowed a lot of provisions from Government of India Act 1935. Rather, it is a major source of Indian Constitution, major source of Indian Constitution. So, and we have borrowed the entire administrative structure, administrative details from the Government of India Act 1935. In fact, Government of India Act 1935 contained 321 sections and 321 sections and 10 schedules. So, Indian Constitution contained 395 articles and 8 schedules at the time of initiation. So that is why the major impact has been from the Government of India Act. But let us see what are the important provisions that we have borrowed from it. We have borrowed the federal scheme. You must have remembered that in Government of India Act 1935 there was a provision for establishment of a federation comprising princely states and comprising princely states, princely states, and that federation could not be implemented due to opposition from the princely states, but later, after independence, we adopted the system of federal government. So the federal scheme of government has been borrowed from the Government of India Act 1935. Then Office of Governor, that is the provision of the Office of the Governor, their appointment, the powers, everything is borrowed from the Government of India Act 35. Judiciary, the provision of judiciary is also inspired by Government of India in 1935, and public service commissions like establishment of Federal Public Service Commission, Provincial Public Service Commission, and Joint Public Service Commission. 35, and later in the Constitution it is provided. In Part 14 of the Constitution, you will find the UPSC and State Public Service Commission. And also, Parliament can establish a joint public service commission for two or more states. So these provisions are borrowed from the Government of India 1935. Then emergency provisions are also borrowed directly from the 35 Act, and I told you the details of administrations in the center and states are borrowed from the 35 Act. Hence, 35 is called a major source of Indian Constitution. The federal system, the judicial system, the administrative system, and others also are borrowed from this Act. So, while getting a question, you can write these things and justify that it is a major source of Indian Constitution. Then, British Constitution. We had a long experiment with British government, British system for more than 200 years. Part and whole of India remained under British. So we had borrowed the basic form of our government from the UK, British Constitution. That is your rule of law. So rule of law was first originated in UK, that is provided in Article 14, rule of law. And it is borrowed from English Constitution or British Constitution, that law is the king, lex rex, as proposed by Abid. I say lex rex, ABDK. He proposed the law that should be, he is the first to propose rule of law, and hence British is the mother of the concept of rule of law, principle of rule of law. Lex rex, law is the king. The legislative procedure, passage of a bill, and parliamentary functionings or legislative functioning in the states are borrowed from the UK Constitution. The provision of single citizenship is also borrowed from British Constitution. And in the cabinet system, the system of government that is prevails at the state is called cabinet system. And it is borrowed from the British Constitution, because cabinet is the sole decision making authority in the country. Okay. So that is the things. Then prerogative reads. some legislative rights, but that is not judicial rights, and parliamentary privileges. The privileges are individual privilege, individual and collective privileges. Individual privileges of the member and collective privileges of the house all are borrowed from the British Constitution, because British has a lot of provisions for privileges of the parliament, because there is a supremacy of parliament. Next, parliamentary form of government. There is an outstanding borrowings from the UK Constitution. We have borrowed the parliamentary system as it is prevalent in the UK, and the bicameralism also. In fact, Indian Central Legislative Council became bicameral during the British time under Government of India Act 1919. So that is the things. Then these are the provisions. Then US Constitution. US Constitution is also one of the major sources of Indian Constitution. We have borrowed fundamental rights. Fundamental rights in their country known as Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights. Okay, then impeachment of the president, that is provided under Article 61. President is impeached on the ground of violation of the Constitution. Then removal of judges of Supreme Court and High Court is also borrowed from US Constitution. Judicial review, a outstanding weapon in the hands of judiciary to review the executive action and legislative reviews. Okay, it is a power which enables the judiciary to review any parliamentary act or any type of action of the government. Then the office of the vice president is a replica of the American president, because the American president is the chairperson of the Senate, the upper house. The vice president in India is also the chairperson of the upper house, that is called Rajya Sabha. And in America, the vice president assumes the office of the president in case the latter dies or resigns or any vacancy arises in his office. In India also the same condition prevails. In case there is a vacancy in the office of the president, there is a chance for the vice president to assume office of the president. But difference is that in America the vice president will continue for the rest of the term, whereas in India, the vice president will continue as president, acting president, for a maximum term of 1 year. Well, 6 months, sorry. Maximum period of 6 months. Okay, that is the features that we have borrowed. Fundamental rights, impeachment, removal of the judges, judicial review, independent judiciary, office of the vice president. That is 16. Then okay, Canadian Constitution. Canadian Constitution, we have brought a federation with a strong center. We have discussed how Indian the Constitution is example of a federation with strong centers. Then vesting residuary powers with the center. I have discussed it. Appointment of governor of states by the center, that is borrowed from American Constitution. A Canadian Constitution, advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court, that is under Article 143, a provision that allows the government of India to seek advice of the Supreme Court on any legal issues. That's why it is called advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Remember, it is unique to the Constitution, to the Supreme Court. Then single citizenship also brought from Canada, but it is usually from the British, we can say. These are the provisions: strong center, vesting residual powers, appointment of the governor, advisory powers, single citizenship. Then Irish Constitution, DPSP, methods of election of the president is Article 155, Article 55, election, proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. So that is the things. Okay, then Irish Constitution. Irish Constitution gets given as the PSP, and DPSP is borrowed from this part. Method of election of the president is Article 55, and nomination of members to Rajya Sabha Article 80. These are the important provisions borrowed from Irish constitutions. It's a fundamental source, an important source of Indian constitution. And the method of election of the president is called proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. Okay. Then we shall go to the questions below it. Okay, guys, my dear students, capable of understanding in English, or that is a drawback of yours, or any other problem. I think that is the drawback. But civil service classes will be taken in English, most probably. Okay, so keep listening, have patience. Don't make unwanted comments like the Sneha's word. So it is public platform. Whatever you are writing, be cautious about that. Okay. So all of you, we are expecting educated people to attend the session and to watch our classes, not any uneducated fellows. Okay, so be uneducated and give some constructive criticism, constructive points, so that we will improve ourselves and take steps to satisfy your views. Otherwise, don't watch. Okay, so all of you, those who are watching later, please prepare well on this chapter because it's very important. In the next class, we shall be trying on the rest part of the salient features. Okay, so I hope all of you are honestly watching. Must be satisfying your wants. So any improvement you can give us suggestions. It is a complete endeavor of new endeavor of Banik, the mega institution which acts as a friend, philosopher, guide to the real aspirants. Okay, so I wish. Okay, so stay safe, stay secured, and okay, thank you very much to all of you.